Hello, everyone. My name is Kyle, and this is the That Live Friday Night Show. And hopefully, everyone can hear me. I'm going to pause here to make sure I can be heard. How do I
Hi.
sound, Kyra?
You. I can hear you.
Okay, I couldn't tell if you were giving me a thumbs up or thumbs down. So
No. I was giving you a
no.
thumbs up. Yeah.
Oh,
The Trump
excellent,
thumbs
excellent.
up.
Oh, I didn't know. Oh, yeah, that thing, right?
Yeah, the signature thing.
Yeah, awesome. So, how are you tonight?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me again.
Yeah. It's been nothing. Unfortunately, nothing's been going on this week to talk about. So I don't know what we can talk about. So that could be a problem.
All good.
So, as you know, as we all know, we had a lot of things going on this week with the Derek Chauvin case, the Floyd, and then we had stuff going on with shootings and riots and storming capitals in Oklahoma, and we had the thing going on in Arizona. Stuff's insane. So, but I want to sort of focus this particular show on primarily law enforcement because I think we all would agree if you're watching the show that law enforcement really gets a bad rap. And I take every chance I get to let them know how much we appreciate them, even in times when I pulled over. You know, I understand it's inconvenience, whatever. I did something wrong. The tail light was out like last month. I got pulled over, but I understand they're doing their jobs. And every stop that they go on, it's a dangerous one. What do you think about that, Kia? What do you think about law enforcement? And what do you think about their place now with what's going on with what we see in the news?
So I 100% support law enforcement, and I always try to go up to police officers when I see them on duty and thank them for what they do, because what they do is incredibly difficult. I have friends who are police officers. One of my best friends from another state, her mother's a police officer, and she actually stays up till 3 a.m. every night, waiting for her mother to come home because of Black Lives Matter, and she's.
I think we lost Kira there, but I will keep talking here in case we get her back. Basically, with law enforcement, it's really important for us to understand that they have a job to do that's incredibly difficult. And one thing I can say for a fact, we lost you, got you back, Kira. You want to finish your thought?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I have friends and family who are police officers. My Wi-Fi cut out, unfortunately. And so I have friends and family who are police officers, and I think it's really important that right now we expose the good things that police officers are doing. And I always try to make an effort to go up to police officers and talk to them and say thank you for what they do. Not distract them from being on duty, but just talk to them and have a genuine, and try to have a genuine conversation.
Yeah, I do too. And it's kind of weird, and I don't want to sound like this may sound really contrived, but we live in such a bad climate here that as a Black man, when I go up to a cop, I kind of have to go in a non-threatening manner because I don't know if they're thinking that I'm trying to threaten them, whatever, and that may sound racist on my part. But I got to be honest, man. Based on the numbers I'm going to share with you tonight, if I was a white cop and a Black man came up to me, statistically speaking, it might not be a good thing. I'm just going to put it that way. I'm just putting it out there, and that's terrible, but maybe we can help change these narratives by doing stuff like this. But I go up to them, and all the time they're always excited that I actually reach out to them and talk to them and whatever. And a lot of my friends, actually, my good friends, are police officers, active duty, and I've done stuff on this channel. You can go see interviews I've done with police officers and stuff. And I know how it impacts their lives and their families, and it's just a very, very stressful thing. And when I see cops do what they do on the street and handle these situations like the one that happened in Columbus, that officer acted in such a professional manner before and after. I just am just totally in awe of these people.
Me too. Yeah. And I think it's just another thing I want to mention are the small businesses that support law enforcement. So if you're a small business or your family owns a small business and you support law enforcement, or you have a back the blue flag outside of your business, because a lot of people have started doing that. I just want to say I appreciate you, because it's really scary right now to be openly supportive of law enforcement, and I have a lot of respect for people that speak up for them, and I have a lot of respect for active duty police officers and police officers that are veterans and aren't working anymore or are retired. I just have a lot of respect for them in general.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
I do. I have I'll tell you a little story. I did what they call police academy. It's like a civic training that you can do in your local city. They have you get selected based on a resume, you apply for it. They take you through the entire city to teach you how to be part of the city government. So when you finish it, you should be able to run for office or be on city council or whatever have you. And so part of that, it's a 2-day training dealing with law enforcement. So you get a chance to go to the 911 center, the call center, make a call. You get to actually go to the shooting range and see how they do there. You get to go through the virtual reality training. I have a picture of that of me on Facebook doing that. But let me tell you about this training here. It's such a scary thing. So you're in this training class and it's got this 3D kind of image on the screen. You're going through a situation and it looks like a game, but it's not a game, right? You come up to a car, people in the car, everything looks cool. Next thing you know, a guy in the backseat's got a gun and shooting at you. You know, it's like, and one of the situations, oh really? I mean, once the situation was, oh yeah. And I won't say the third situation because it's kind of graphic, but there's one situation where you go into an underpass, no one's there, and it's an ambush. So they put you in a no-win situation where you're going to die no matter what. And just to let you know, you need to be careful no matter what you do. So that was really sobering to me because, you know, and I've been on these calls. I've been on ride-alongs with law enforcement all night. Get on calls, get out the car, go into a building, whatever, and checking. Most times, like a security alarm goes off, whatever. But you never know. That's the thing. And so it's a really stressful time. So when the night's over, I'm ready to go home. I'm stressed out, freaking out. I don't know how they do this every day, every night, all over the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think another thing that's important to mention is a lot of people, I have a lot of friends who support Black Lives Matter, and I remember when I was actually in my sorority, I was heavily bullied by a girl who supported Black Lives Matter. She genuinely believed that I was like this racist white supremacist who supported police officers. She was like, all police officers are like racist, like ACAB, all these things. And so when I was on Instagram, like, I didn't post a black square at all. I don't even use Instagram that much. Never posted a black square at all because I'm not the type of person, like I'm not a sheep. I think for myself. And this girl got mad at me and she started attacking me. She's like, you're this disgusting white supremacist chick. You hate black people. And I'm like, what are you talking about, girl? So I think it's important to mention that a lot of police officers, if you genuinely believe that all police officers are racist, half the time they're going into these neighborhoods, these minority neighborhoods, and they don't want to be there. But they're there to protect you and serve you because their entire job is to serve citizens. And I get really frustrated at people who are like, oh, you know, they're just trying to satisfy their pent-up racism. And I'm like, why would they put the badge on to serve citizens and then act in a racist way? And in reality, like, police officers that are bad people do get prosecuted. So it's just stupid. I don't know.
Yeah, so you mentioned the black faces. We talked about this a little bit before. Can you explain what that is?
Like the black picture?
You mean like are you referring to the same thing with Instagram and social media where you cover your profile picture as a black square? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, and then you post like a black square on your Instagram. And I remember I didn't post a black square on my Instagram. So it's basically like you're in solidarity with the black community. And all my friends that are black, they were messaging me and they're like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my freaking life. And I told them, I'm like, I'm not going to post a black square. I'm not a sheep. And if people have a problem with me not posting a black square, like, why not supporting racism should be a human thing. Every human being should not support racism, okay? Because it's an evil thing and it's disgusting. So why do I have to announce publicly that I'm not racist? Why? It's just stupid. So I didn't post a black square, and I was like, and so instead I shared a post by Tomi Lahren, who's like, I'm a huge fan of. I love her so much. And she was just standing in solidarity. She posted like a thin blue line thing. And I remember like looking at it and I was like, wow, I wish I could do this, but I'm going to be called racist. I posted a video on Snapchat of a black police officer talking to an African American guy, or I don't know what acronym I should use. Sorry. And
Black.
they were just
Black American.
Black.
Human.
Okay. Yeah. And so I posted it, and this girl from my university, super leftist chick, swipes up on my story, and she's like, "You're such a bootlicker. I can't believe you would support this. Obviously, that black police officer is a traitor to his gender." And I'm like, so yeah, I have a lot of stories with this, but over the summer, I was like the campus supervillain because I wasn't going to post a black square on my Instagram because I'm not racist and I shouldn't have to tell every human being around me that I stand up against racism and I'm against it. Like, I literally run a campaign combating anti-Semitism on a daily basis. So why should I have to post a black square? Yeah. It's stupid.
Yeah, you were the most pro-Israel people. You were the most pro-Israel Jewish nation people I've seen on social media. And I don't see how they can make that connection. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. I think part of it is like, they want you to bow the knee, I guess. But at the same time, it's like, well, I'm not a murderer. I'm not a murderer. So should I announce I'm not a murderer today? Or, that almost makes me, if I would say I'm not a murderer, guys, hey, I'm not a murderer, makes me want to think that maybe you are a murderer. Because, you know what I mean? If you keep saying I'm not a racist, I'm racist, why do you keep telling me that? Are you really a racist? I mean, why are you telling me this? So
I have a lot of my friends are Jewish. So I have like Orthodox Jewish friends and like Hasidic Jewish friends. And I even I celebrate Shabbat with them. I celebrated Hanukkah with them a few years ago. And I was sitting with their family and I was receiving these messages from this super crazy leftist at my university. She was like attacking me and stuff. And I was just sitting there with my Jewish friends. You're not supposed to be on your phone during Shabbat. Jeez. Okay. Sorry, people keep FaceTiming me.
That was cool. You said I'm not supposed to be on your phone and your phone went off.
Yeah,
good timing.
Someone FaceTimed me and I told them, I'm like, leave me alone, okay? So during Shabbat, you're not supposed to be on your phone at all. Like, you are supposed to just not be on your phone. And so this girl was just like messaging me. So my ringer was going off on my phone and she was like messaging me all these awful things. And she was like, you're an anti-Semite. You hate Palestine. And I was just sitting there with my Jewish friends who her parents fought in the IDF. And I was like sitting there and I'm like, this girl thinks I'm an anti-Semite. And her parents looked at me and they're like, you're the least anti-Semitic girl I know. So yeah, I don't have to tell people I'm like against racism because everyone who knows me knows that like, if you are another minority or race, I will stand up for you. So it's like stupid. I shouldn't have to announce that 24/7 that I'm against racism. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. In fact, it's like they try and tell you what you are, but they don't even really know the definition themselves. They're going to call that black person a bootlicker, and I really have a problem with this. A traitor to your gender. Okay, so for me, I'm a logical person. So what does that mean? Did you say gender? Did you say? I guess you use race. I guess, right?
Yeah,
traitor to your
like a traitor to their race. Like they think black police officers are traitors to their race.
Oh, yeah. Uncle Tom's, of course. So, but there's no definition scientifically for race, right? So, what are you talking about? Is how much melanin in my skin does it have to be, and what kind of melanin is it? The brown melanin or is it the more beige melanin? There's two kinds, and so in that case, at what level does it matter that I'm not, or what does it matter for a white person to have a certain amount in him that you can't tell? Does that matter for him too, for him to be considered black? So can we really break down what this really means? I'm really having a hard time to understand. So I would really get into the weeds with them. They would be mad at me and run off. But because I don't accept your premise, first of all. Number one, you have to be identified with someone because you're the same skin color as them. It's crazy. Like Chris Rock said back in the day, which he probably regrets it now. He says, when I go to the ATM at night, I'm not looking around my corner for Mike Wallace, the media talking about. I'm looking for, you know what I'm saying? He says the word, right? The N-word. And it's like, he's right. I mean, I'm not looking for the media. I'm looking for people who are willing to harm me. And so it makes no difference. So your skin color, to me, makes no difference. Do you love this country? Do you respect me and my family? And do you like to have a good time and hang out? That's kind of what I care about. So I don't get this.
I think also another important thing to mention is like Democrats have a huge history with racism. I mean, they started the KKK, for crying out loud, and they genuinely believe that Democrats generally believe that Black people are slaves. Anyone who's a part of a minority or a race, they are slaves. And if you don't think the way that they want you to think, or if you're not in the profession that they want you to be in, then automatically I'm not going to say the slurs on camera because they're disgusting and I don't like racism. But yeah, I think that's what they mean by traitor. Like, oh, you don't think like us, so we want nothing to do with you, or you have this profession. So I think that's mostly what they mean, but who knows at this point? Leftists are crazy.
Yeah, and I think also knows, like you just said, many people don't know that the Democrat Party sponsored the KKK and poll taxes, and systemic racism really sits at their doorstep. If you go all the way back to redlining, going out of the policies of Reformation, Lincoln, after he died, the word that they used to bring back I forget the name of it. Anyway, that particular movement that happened after the Civil War, that period brought forth a lot of bad laws that went into FDR, and then the New Deal and the war on poverty. All that stuff compiled to these liberal leftist policies that ended up destroying the Black community. And it all goes back to Democrat policies. And so when you say systemic racism, you're really talking about your own party, which is why I'm saying when they accuse you of something, they have no idea what they're accusing, because if they knew, then they would know that they're accusing themselves because they support the party that actually did all that. The Reformation, what is that word? What's the word, the term? If you know, if you comments here, let me know in the comments below. What is that term after the Civil War? Reconstruction. Yes. Yeah, I was stuck on Reformation, you know.
Me too. I was like, wait, what?
That's so bad. Hey, Brian, how you doing? Oh, Brian, that's Brian's on. Brian Bowlby.
That's my dad. Hi, Dad.
Last name is yours. I didn't want to dox him. So you said it, so. I need to friend him on Facebook, by the way. I need to friend him on Facebook. So.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
My best on Facebook. Love you, Dad.
Yeah. But if I'm friends with your dad, then I won't be cool anymore. So I'm like, Kyle, no more talking with Kyle anymore, because he's friends with my dad now. I think he and I would get along really well.
Yeah, you guys. He got banned on Facebook for 30 days again because he told this liberal off.
Did he really? Oh, I love him. Friend? Oh, yeah, you can't friend me now. You can't. Oh,
he gets banned all the time. He's so funny. Like we were sitting at dinner. Yeah, we were sitting at dinner and this guy, and so my dad was like, "Oh, damn it, I got banned for 30 days again." And I was like, he's so funny. But yeah,
dude, you're a hero, man. You're a hero. You're a hero, Brian. I'll see you when you get out. I'll send you a file with a cake with a file in it.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's good to have a support like that, because I'm not gonna talk about my parents online. I'll tell you offline. But they don't see eye to eye with me, you know, and I love them to death, but I don't talk about what I do because it would just be, it wouldn't register. So for the fact that you're able to do it, it's just fantastic. It's just that support system is wonderful to have. So it's great. So I was going to say something about that, but let's go on to, what do you think right at this point in time? Well, let's tell you what. You want to kind of circle back and talk about the George Floyd, Derek Chauvin case, and the verdict and what that means for this country at this point. I didn't comment on it publicly, so this would be the first time I actually comment on the case publicly. You have any thoughts to bring up about that and how that shaked out?
Do you want my legal perspective or political perspective?
Whatever you feel comfortable with. For me, I probably do both since I'm doing it live. But
yeah, so I'm going to be honest. With Chauvin, or whatever his name is, I saw what he did and I was just shocked. Like, I saw what happened and I do think it was blown way out of proportion with people. But in reality, and I talked about this on Facebook and I talked about this on Snapchat if you add me, So the jury, when it comes to a verdict like this, when it comes to deciding a verdict like this, or when it comes to cases like this, the jury should spend about 24 hours before they decide the case. And from my personal understanding, and this might be wrong, they adjourned early. And that is shocking to me. And also, I am a full-on constitutionalist, so everything, like as someone who wants to be an attorney, I look at the Constitution for everything. And I was reading through the Constitution, and I think one thing that's really important to mention is every single human being in this country that's an American citizen deserves to have a legal trial, like a legal and fair trial. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think this was a fair trial. And that scares me because as soon as our court systems, as soon as that starts to become an activist center, then we are doomed as a country. And I made a live stream about this on Facebook, and you can go and watch that. But yeah, that's my legal perspective, my political perspective. I think it's shocking to me how many people were still out on the streets rioting after the verdict was decided. And I personally believe that if you do something wrong, you should be consequenced to the full extent of the law. The law does not have boundaries, okay? You are not above the law and you're not below the law. Everyone's here. So you do not have the right to go out and riot and loot. You also had Vice President Kamala Harris, lovely woman, by the way. She was talking on Twitter during the riots in the summer about bailing out rioters and looters. And then you have Maxine Waters, who says, go out and incite violence. And I think that's just, I think that's just wrong in our country. And it makes me sad that we're at that point where the other thing that shocked me was before the verdict was even decided, people were angry in the streets. And I heard someone on Fox News say that the verdict was decided, the verdict was probably decided as Chauvin not being guilty because he's white. And that's disgusting to me. The fact that so many people have a problem with our criminal justice system and they don't have trust in it, that is shocking to me. And that's scary to me as a future attorney that wants to fight for the law and fight for justice and equality. That makes me so mad on so many levels. So I literally, when I heard that being said on Fox News, and when I saw Black Lives Matter rioters in Minneapolis just like yelling and like screaming, and there were videos of them freaking out about the verdict before it was even decided, that ticked me off. Like we have and also another thing I want to mention, as a country, we're better than this. Like we are better than that. Okay? And that just made me so upset. As someone who wants to be a future attorney, someone who wants to run for office, that scared me because it's like, are we even going to listen to each other anymore? It's just shocking.
Yeah, what you said there was fantastic. And I think one of the reasons why I work so hard at this, and this is fun we're doing right now, but I'd much rather be talking about Star Wars and real sports, not the LeBron James we're going to talk about a little bit later, but cool stuff. My Facebook page used to be full of puppies and stuff and memes, nice memes, but now it's all like hardcore political stuff, and it's like in your face like this, because I'm working so hard at this on so many different levels that this country is something I love, and it's hard for me to talk about this country without getting emotional. I'm not going to try and break out in tears on the show here. I promise. I'm going to try. But I love this country. And it's like, to me, I don't care what it takes what I need to do to make it better. And so what you just said, like you said, shocking, scary, disgusting, all that stuff is what we're seeing right now. Project that into 20 years, even 5 years. It's really, really hard to kind of swallow and gather. So we're going to continue fighting on this, and we're going to get Trump, one of the Trumps, back in 2024, or a Trump person who loves Trump and Trump America, or something Trumpism, make America great in 2024. In 2022, let's get these, I almost called them bastards, which I did just call them bastards, out of there in 2022 so that we can start to get this country back. So That's kind of my focus here. I'm kind of rambling here, but it starts really with Maricopa County, this audit that they were trying to block. The Democrats didn't want to spend $1 million, and hopefully it's still back on. Hopefully that'll come out of that, and we can get more laws, get them out 2022, 2024, and then on we go. So, but yeah, everything you said about this Chauvin case, Eric, I keep saying Eric Floyd, George Floyd. Okay, I have a lot of personal opinions, which I'm not going to talk about George Floyd on this program. From an optics standpoint, it was absolutely horrendous, horrible. You watched it for the first time in there, you don't know anything about the context. You see this, you see what you see on the screen, you're freaking out. I'm like, this is bad. But then 6 months later, I'm like, it's like, and the thing is, the media was driving such a narrative on this thing before they do anything. And a lot of it was just lies. And I have a bunch of stuff here with just lies. And this isn't the first time. This was the first time I give them some slack. But we have Jussie Smollett, we have Bubba Wallace, we have Hands Up, Don't Shoot, and dare I say Trayvon to a lesser degree. And I'm like, it's just, I see it over and over again. And you can just write the script all the way out. And when you saw it come to fruition, you have a president in office that they hated, an election year, a so-called pandemic. I'll give it to him. It's a pandemic. All right. And all this stuff together, it's a powder keg, an absolute powder keg. Yeah, these people are trapped in their homes, locked down, and now they have masks too? You mean tell me I can go outside, have a mask on, be undetectable cameras, loot, riot, and steal, and rob and kill because of this social injustice, which I think is going on because of what the media's told me? That's what angers me more than anything, is that this whole thing is just accumulation of all these elements together, from Trayvon all the way up to where we are now. A lot of those things in between were false narratives, and I will concede there were some bad things that happened in there that was probably legitimately social justice issues, which I don't hate to use that term anyway because it's not really a good term, but crimes that we considered human rights violations. I admit that, but it wasn't the majority of them. And was there some accountability of some of those people that were actually doing those crimes or doing that in that situation? So it's collective. It's not just blaming the cops and then white people. A lot of this is some accountability too. If I decided to stay home that day, or if I decide not to yell at the cop or pull out a water pistol and say, yeah, whatever, you know what I'm saying? There's things we can do to prevent some of this stuff. And again, that's a little tirade, a little rant, but that's my overall impression of this whole thing. And so when the verdict came out, I wasn't surprised. Today we saw that a juror admitted that she was scared that this could be a bad thing, intimidation and so forth. So, and to your point, Kyra, you're right. People don't trust the system, and now the jurors themselves don't trust the people who don't trust the system.
Another thing I want to mention is President Biden and just all the divisive things he's been saying lately. The fact that he called the family before the verdict was decided is just disgusting to me. And I don't want to cry on this live stream, but I've never looked at a case in my life before. The only other case that I've gotten really angry by was Romer versus Evans in the Supreme Court, and Roe v. Wade, of course. But I've never seen a case in my life and seen a verdict, and I've never sat on a couch and cried before that came out. And I am just so disgusted by the rhetoric that Biden is using in this country to try and divide us, when he literally said before he was inaugurated that he would try and unite all of us together. He's part of the problem as to why there's a war on police officers and as to why this is so out of hand right now. And it just makes me really sad. So I thought I would mention that, because President Biden should be trying to unite us. He's the president of all Americans, not just Democrats. And half the time he doesn't even know what room he's in. And I'm so tired of him. So it's frustrating.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I'm with you on that. And this rhetoric does not help. You have the ESPN reporter that came out and said that the gentleman, I forget which one it was, the kid, black kid, he said that he was unarmed, but he had a knife. He admitted he had a knife. And it was just a wrong thing to say. And that just stirs up the pot, And so, if you already are uninformed and you're already emotional, you're already trapped in this system that you've been indoctrinated is as a bad system, then it just starts from like the very beginning of what you look at this country as. You know, if you have a bad perception of this country, and you hate who you are as a person, and this and this, then all of a sudden this tacks onto that, and you become you can become a very emotional, and then that emotion can turn into violence when stuff like this happens. And so, like you said, President Biden should not have done that. He needs to stay above the fray. You know, he needs to be a president for everybody. And people get on Trump about the things they think he did, but President Trump was president for everybody. President Trump was not an ideologue. He did things that he thought was helping this country. I mean, countless times he would go to the other side. I mean, the gentleman who was the Judiciary Committee guy, he calls him in the hospital after he strokes out, he has a stroke or he had a heart attack, whatever. I mean, the guy who basically was trying to get him impeached, Trump turned right around and then reached out to him when he got sick. And so he's just a decent dude. And the Democrats would never do that kind of thing. They would never reach across the aisles and try and embrace a Republican in a human manner. We are denigrated. We are reviled. We're treated like scum. And they can do anything they want to us because we have the R of our name, and because in their minds we are Nazis, racists, homophobes, Uncle Toms, whatever you want to call us. So yeah, I was gonna, yeah. But I think one way we can fix that is to kind of talk about the actual data that's going on, the actual narratives that can be broken just from a simple stat. And I showed you this before we got started. I'm gonna show you, bring this up on the screen here. This is a one of those stat that's based on some data from I think 2020. And I'm gonna put it up on the screen here and we can talk about it. I'm going to read it to you while I'm at it. It says here that there's 800,000 police officers in the U.S. working 4 million shifts a week. There's 208 million shifts worked each year in the U.S. In 2020, 18, and by the way, I know this stat, this is from the Washington Post, unarmed blacks were shot by the police. By the way, Kyra, the Washington Post kept these stats, and because they were so low, they stopped their counter that you go online and look at it, because it was such a blemish to what their narrative was that they took it down. Anyone telling you that there's systemic targeting of blacks by police in America is a liar. So it's just a numbers game there. We have millions of traffic stops. And then you combine that particular stat with the fact that blacks are about 13% of the population. The good news is those aren't the ones committing the crime. It's only that 2 to 3%, that 15 to 34-year-old black male, I looked this number up, USA Today, that constitutes 2% of the population, are committing 37% of the homicides that are involving a handgun. The rest of them would be around 50% when you put them all together, but it's still a small minority of the black population, but they're committing a lot of crimes. So what happens? You have cops that have to go in situations to deal with that. Well, if it's a violent crime, they can't use words to stop the crime. They have to use force. And if they're using a gun, they got to shoot back. And that's what's happening. But even with all of that, officers are still doing one hell of a job keeping this country safe when you consider everything they have to deal with. So when you think about the situation that happened in Columbus, Ohio, with the lady who was stabbing or trying to stab another person, and then the officer came on the scene and shot her, and now they're having a big brouhaha about he shouldn't have acted when he did, with LeBron James commenting as well.
Well, LeBron James is first off a communist, so that should tell you a lot. And I think personally, a lot of people are looking at what happened, and all the headlines that I saw were white officer shoots black teen. Okay? White officer shoots black teen. And then Black Lives Matter went crazy, and then you have the mother who's like, oh, she was peaceful. Yeah, a peaceful person doesn't try to stab another human being, okay? They don't do that. If you're peaceful, you don't use violence, okay? Let's just get that straightened out. And another thing is journalism nowadays is dead, okay? There's just not really any real journalists out there, except for James O'Keefe from Project Veritas. God bless him. I saw him at the Student Action Summit at Turning Point USA twice in a row speaking, and I literally got so excited. He's the best. God bless him and all the work that he does. God bless people like Tommy Lahren. I know she doesn't call herself a commentator. She doesn't call herself a journalist. She's a commentator, but the fact that she went down to the border to like document what was happening. There is someone on CNN who, I hate CNN. I don't ever watch CNN, but there is a CNN reporter who actually questioned Rashida Tlaib about her anti-Semitism, because Rashida Tlaib recently tried putting a bill on the congressional floor that supported the boycott, divest, and sanctions movement, which is basically economic anti-Semitism. And he told her that that wasn't fair. And he said, why don't you have a bill that boycotts Egypt? He, like, as much as I hate him and as much as I disagree with 99% of what he says, except for that, I respect the fact that he asked the tough questions. And you know, like, God bless all the people on Fox News that actually do their jobs and like report. Honestly, God bless Tucker Carlson and everything that he does too. And just God bless so many conservatives out there. But I think it's important to mention that journalism is genuinely dead, and we're living in a time filled with mob rule and filled with bias and filled to the brim with just trying to indoctrinate people to think that all cops are bad people. And we really need to stand up and say, hey, that's not true. Because many police officers that put on that badge, they are protecting you. And during those riots, another thing I want to mention is when everyone was rioting and looting around our country, even though the rioters absolutely hated the police officers that were there, they were still there trying to protect the rioters and make sure that they had safety. So I just think that that situation, when you don't understand the backstory, the media's job is to basically try and divide people right now. So you look at the story, you look at the headline, because a lot of people don't sit down and read the news like you and I do. And I think that that's important to mention. I just think journalism's dead and we need to do better. And just, yeah.
Yeah, so when I do research for videos, I actually have to go to stuff like the Huffington Post or go to the Independent or somewhere else. And the article, the byline looks like, well, this is going to be a hard piece to do because this article makes it sound like everything I said is wrong, right? So then I'll read it and look down. And, oh yeah, there it is. You can see it's either been it's a slant journalism, or they're comparing apples to oranges. Like, I give you a perfect example, like the one we did this week on black crime and cops, are they racist, or are the cops racist? Well, they're talking about police officers. This is Huffington Post, and they're basically talking about the crime laws being racist. They're talking about like marijuana charges have to do with like that very well could be culturally, like for instance, like rock cocaine versus powder cocaine. We all know about that, and yeah, that's probably discriminatory. But it had nothing to do with violence, shooting, homicides, the stuff that I was referring to. So they were trying to conflate one side. Okay, see how it's almost like a bait and switch. You see over here how powder cocaine gets you this much and rock cocaine gets you this much if you're black. But that's bad. Well, I would agree with that for the most part, which is why President Trump did the whole thing with prison reform. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking, and they're saying, well, see that? Now watch this over here. Now you have cops killing blacks. No, that's not. That's how you get from here to here, and that's not what it is. And so that's what I'm saying. They do that kind of stuff inside of hand, and it's really discouraging. And if you're not discerning in your research, then you can miss that. And I think, and then if you Google, not big tech, they will always put the articles up first. So now I'm using like DuckDuckGo. I'm using Quant, whatever it's called, the new search engine that's out of France, no less. But it's better than Google in terms of what you want. So you got to research, and like you said, otherwise you will fall right into that trap very easily.
Yeah, I think everyone should research both sides. And as like someone who wants to be a future attorney, like we have to do that. Like we have to look at both sides, and we have to read both sides of the case and stuff like that. So that's what I want to do for the rest of my life, is like defend people. But you really have to look at both sides. And regardless of what profession you want to go into, I don't care what you want to do with your life, like you should educate yourself on both sides. And that is, I just think right now, especially, like, try to be more open to what both sides are saying. And also, like for me, I will read a pretty leftist news source and I will be like, oh, well, this just made one of my arguments better. So I just think it's important to educate yourself on both sides.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes those leftist articles just reinforce what you already know in a way that's opposite, because they're saying either the same thing or they're saying something totally different, which means they don't have anything to really contradict you on. So, but I do want to kind of get on LeBron James a little bit more, because I think with 50 million followers, that guy, and I agree, he's a total communist. That guy really is just epitomizes not only stupidity, ignorance, but the damaging nature of it. And the thing is, I don't even know if he knows how ridiculous he really is. And so from what I understand, what he did was, and I guess slightly to his defense, that there was a misleading headline that you just mentioned, that white cop shoots and kills black teenager, which is a true statement, right? But it's not the whole truth. It's not the truth. It's not the contextual truth. And so given that headline, he goes off on Twitter all mad, writing, I think you saw the tweet, basically. It says, "You're next," all caps, hourglass, hashtag, all caps, accountability. And then he put the picture of the police officer, which we actually scrubbed that picture on our thumbnail because I didn't want to, because Dan Bongino said we should not show his picture, and I agree. I just put it in there, but we blurred it out. But he put it out there, gets police officer's name and whatever out there, and then he deleted it later after he found out that he was basically being stupid. And so, but then he doubled down and basically didn't apologize and said, "Well, I'll just do it because people say that people it's causing hate, so I'm going to take it down because of hate. But I still am convicted because I'm so tired of black people getting killed by white cops." Come on, dude. You're not helping. You're doubling down and still the same thing as reinforcing people's beliefs. Had he done that, I wish he had done this, Kyra. If he had done this, I might have got some tickets to Lakers. I might have got me a LeBron jersey. I might have been cheering his flag. Had he said, "Look, guys, you know what? Yeah, that was dumb. Look, this obviously was wrong. I was stupid. This thing needs to come down. We need to look at both sides. There's accountability on both sides. The dad who kicked the woman in the face, let's talk about her. Let's talk about the woman's daughter who was saved from this person trying to kill him. Yes, the person dying was tragic, but the police officer did the right thing, and we need to respect him, and I'm sorry for doxing him, and if I can do anything to help with his case, whatever, I will help, because this is wrong. We all need to come together." He could have done that. He could have been really a hero. Some people would have called him a sellout, but he would have got so much support there and brought this country back in such a way that I think a lot of this couldn't be gaining healing. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think had he done something like that, would you have been, first of all, would you have believed it? And number two, had you believed it, would you have come his way and been more supportive of him and NBA and so forth?
Well, first off, my ancestors and I will never support the NBA and the fact that they are cowering to the Chinese Communist Party and the fact that they're holding Muslims hostage and stripping them of their humanity and their culture. Yeah, I will never support the NBA, ever. And I want to make that very clear. My ancestors fled communism, fascism, and socialism, and we will never support something like that. And I will never support someone who kneels to the national anthem. Sorry. Like, this is the greatest country on the face of the planet. You're taking millions of dollars, like a year or a week, to play basketball, and you're complaining all the time. Everyone has a right to their opinion, but when you try and lecture me about me being racist for being white, or me being an oppressive white person, and when you say that all police officers are racist, and that this is a racist system, 100%, yeah, I will never support someone like that, because that doesn't represent the majority of police officers who take crappy hours, crappy pay, and they're out there serving you. Like, the NBA, at these NBA games, they probably have security guards that are armed to protect them in case something happens. So I think LeBron James, I think LeBron James is the biggest hypocrite, and I think he's an attention seeker, and I think he's a stupid, vile human being, and he needs to learn how to, maybe he should take accountability and maybe research both sides, because I get really frustrated about LeBron James, and I'm sorry, but I have never seen someone that disrespectful, that arrogant, who receives that much money, and who, like, he's literally participating in capitalism, yet he thinks communism's this great thing. Yeah, well, LeBron James, my ancestors are going to have to disagree with you. So I will never support him. I will never support the NBA. I don't support people who kneel to our flag and our national anthem. I mean, I'm going to be honest, our country has a lot of scars. It has its scarred history, but that flag has comforted a lot of people, and it's been there through some really difficult times in our country. So how dare he claim that he's oppressed and then take millions of dollars and then love communism and all these other things? I go off about LeBron James. I hate him. But he just needs to learn. And also maybe, like, so cops should take accountability. Maybe he should take accountability for his stupid actions. And also, he literally doxed a police officer. And I found out today that that police officer's family is now getting threatened because of his picture. So
Oh, wow.
I don't want to hear about him. Look, we need to take accountability for this system. Maybe you should take accountability and do your freaking research sometimes on both sides. It's just frustrating. Sorry for going off, but yeah.
No, it's good. Yeah, I feel the same way. Actually, I'm just trying to play a little bit devil's advocate there, but you raised so many issues that it's really, I really had forgotten some of those things that he had been part of. Of course, with China and the fact that he does kneel for the flag. I even pretty much even forgot that for the most part, because this right here is so egregious. To me, I think that this is really unforgivable. I know Black and White Sports did a thing today, said that the NBA would never recover from this. And I think they may have a point there. I know NBA players don't like what LeBron's doing, because what he's doing to them is taking money out of their pockets. And it's so bad with LeBron. The narrative is, in the show, I think I mentioned this before, on Netflix, called Last Chance U Basketball. They did this little thing at the end of the season. It's like a documentary for kids who are in JUCO college, second chance universities. And so they go out there to like a retreat, whatever, and then they want to talk about how they have like a round table. They stand around in a circle and say who they admire. One person said they admire LeBron James, how he's this great person. And then one person said, yeah, he loves this, whatever. He says, not for China. He loves China. And then they called him out on this Netflix show. Like, he's like, so I'm like, wow. So even these kids who are in high school and college know that LeBron James is nothing more than a China sellout, because it's just so obvious. So yeah, I had no plans at all watching NBA ever again. I made a decision almost a year ago, but I wanted to at least put it out there. I wasn't sure if your opinion was as strong as mine. I see that they are, and so that's good, because I think most Americans are feeling this way, because when I do a video on LeBron James, it goes up to 800 views, 1,000 views, easy, because people are so hateful. Not hateful, well, I guess hateful in some ways, but hateful what he's doing, and has so much disdain on him as a person, and trickles down to the whole NBA, because these guys, not only that, but the play is terrible. They're spoiled. He gets a hamstring. He gets carried off the court because he's just everything that the legends in basketball, the Barkleys, the Jordans, the Birds, the Magics, the Isaiah Thomases, the Lambeers, the people who worked hard. Lambeer's kind of a different kind of guy, but I loved him. But those guys played and respected the game, and he's squandered all that goodwill. And it's like, I don't know if the NBA will ever be recovered from this at all.
Yeah, because like people like LeBron James and former President Trump recently posted an announcement that I kind of want to read because I have it on my phone. But
Right.
But he said something that was so interesting. Here, let me try to find his oh my god, let me try to find what he said.
Well, what are you looking for? I'll just talk a little bit more.
He did it now. Oh, I found it. Okay.
You got it? Okay, good.
I'll read this. LeBron James should focus on basketball rather than presiding over the destruction of the NBA, which has just recorded the lowest television ratings by far in the long and distinguished history of the league. His racist rants are divisive, nasty, insulting, and demeaning. He may be a great basketball player, but he is doing nothing to bring our country together. Mic drop!
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Because Black and White Sports brought that up as well. That's actually, you read the whole thing in its entirety. I didn't realize it was that hard hitting. That's kind of a.
It was so good. I was up late last night studying, and all of a sudden I get this thing from Telegram, and I'm like, what is this? And I was like, ooh, another statement from 45. So I read it, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I literally fell off my chair because I was like, holy crap, he hit the nail on the head. Yeah, it was a great.
Yeah. LeBron James is a racist. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, he has hate in his heart, and he has no regard for anyone other than himself and his, I guess, reputation. But it's a reputation that he is looking at from the eyes of a Marxist movement. It's almost like he's appeasing the Marxists of this country. He doesn't have any idea how to appease the middle American, the person who just wants to watch a game without seeing Black Lives Matter all over the court, or people kneeling for the flag, or disrespecting people, or threatening to stop the league because a jury decides to do something that they don't like, which I was hoping that they would ban. I was hoping they would boycott forever. Like I saw on Twitter today, I go on Twitter very rarely, but someone said, so some lady said, well, y'all should boycott forever. Don't ever give up. Just boycott. I'm like, and I replied to her, I said, oh, please boycott forever. Because, if the NBA never came back, I would be a happy person.
Yeah, and I was watching this video. So this super sweetheart, does these interviews. So he's like a sport interviewer, and he's from this like night show or whatever. I don't watch it anymore because nighttime TV is trash and leftist garbage. But he went to these like NBA games and he would like interview people. And every single year he would try to talk to LeBron James, and LeBron James would just ignore him, like flat out ignore him. And one time he brought this like salad for LeBron James. He's like, here you go, like here's a salad. And this basketball. And so LeBron James is like, someone asks him, LeBron, like, do you want his salad? And he's like, no. So I'm like, he is mean. LeBron James, if I saw that man on the other if I was walking and all of a sudden I see this, if I see LeBron James walking on the side of the street, I'm gonna turn the other direction and run. Okay?
Yeah.
But he's not a nice guy at all.
Yeah, that's well, yeah. I mean, how can you be so nice when you have that much obvious what is it called? Hate in your heart, right? And here's a guy. So here's a guy who's a lockdown for me and for you is different from a lockdown for LeBron James, right? His lockdown is $100 million house in Bel Air. And, he has armed security guards. I have a picture of him with like 4 security guards, police officers surrounding him as he's walking into a building. And so the hypocrisy there is out of this world. But the fact that he is so removed from society, doesn't know anything going on in terms of everyday persons, that and then he has the audacity to talk down to Americans and tell us, stuff that's not true. But you have these people who are following them who believe that, and then infect our lives, not yours, because you're behind a gated community with armed guards. They affect our lives because we're just want to watch a basketball game. Next thing I know, I have armed Antifa and BLM around my car trying to pull me out because of something LeBron James tweeted the other day. And he's chilling in his little mansion. So that's, to me, is what really gets me unnerved. That these people can sit back on their high horse, tweet off like little social justice warriors, keyboard warriors, and then affect all these lives and take no responsibility, no accountability, because they have this higher level of victimhood Olympics merit on them that they can be immune to any ramifications because I'm black, I'm a victim, leave me alone, I'm LeBron James.
Yep, exactly. 100%.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I saw what you said about Candace Owens too. Did you comment on what Candace Owens said on her Instagram?
I comment on a lot of things Candace Owens says. Can you be more specific? Sorry.
Yeah, she went live a couple of days ago. Whenever she goes live, I literally drop everything, right? I mean, I can literally be like driving the car. I'm like, I was like, stop the car and listen to her because everything she says is so awesome. But no, she talked about LeBron James, talked about how he's despicable, and goes into the whole thing about the shooting. And I mean, she really went into him pretty hard and was basically saying like, LeBron, what do you expect her to do? Do you expect her to, the person, the victim who's about to be stabbed, do you expect her to say, well, you know what? Go ahead and not shoot her because she's black. Just kill me now because I'll take one for the team because I don't want my sister who's black to be killed by a white cop. Is that what you're saying, LeBron? Is that what you expected her to do? No. The woman whose child that was is, I'm sure, glad her daughter's alive. No, does she want the other person dead? No, but she's glad her child's alive. And so the officer really had no other choice but to do what he did, because when he got on the scene, he literally had 10 seconds to react. From the time he got out of the car, it's less than 10 seconds before the shots are fired. And as I was filming it, there was no way I could film it until I could slow it down to about 400% before I could finally get the frame in there, because it was so fast to happen. And the fact that officer was able to pull his gun, because he was turned to the right already. Because this was happening down here. The dad was kicking the woman in the head. He's down here looking. Next thing you know, he has his gun drawn. He looks around, sees that she has a knife, pulls that out, acquires the target, fires safely in the right direction. Nothing else is hit besides the lady. And then to be able to do that so quickly, I don't know how he's able to do that, because I couldn't see it when I'm slowing it down on video. He's able to assess the situation, find the target, find the threat, and then neutralize the threat in like 4 seconds. It's incredible. And I think the fact that he is not getting the credit he's due is just a shame. In fact, you just said his parents or the family's being threatened now because of LeBron. Come on.
Yes, because LeBron basically doxed him and released a picture of him and said, like, what did LeBron say? Sorry.
You're next. Yeah. And it's another thing. Is that kind of threatening?
That is threatening. That is
someone just gets killed, right? And now you think hashtag you're next, or your next hashtag accountability. That should be charges for that. I don't know what the law is in wherever he tweeted that, but there should be a law against doing that.
Doxing should be illegal. It's literally inciting violence against another human being. So it's disgusting. And another thing I want to mention is a lot of the time during certain things that happen with police, a lot of the time they only really have a few seconds to respond. So you have to really analyze the situation, and they go over this in police academy. They have situations where they will put you in the simulator. You talked about a little bit at the beginning. They'll put you in the simulator and they're like, this person is violent. This person, let's say you're at a robbery, right? Like a bank robbery. You have to go in and your number one obligation as a police officer is to protect and serve citizens in your area. That's all they're doing. Now, there are good and bad police officers. Yes. There are good and bad people in every profession. And if you're a bad police officer, not good. I don't support bad police officers. But a lot of the time, they only have this amount of time to respond to something that's happening. So if they see a citizen that's getting hurt or that they think might die, they're going to do what they can to try and protect that person. And like I said, there are good and bad police officers. There are good and bad cops. But at the end of the day, 90% of them are incredible human beings.
Yeah, that video was kind of hard to edit for obvious reasons. I mean, I didn't like doing it, but I saw NBC. I think they did to show that there was no, or to hide the knife in the woman's hand. It's very deceptive. And when I saw that, I was like, I got to do a video slowing it down, whatever. But so I blurred everything out. I blurred the shooting out, everything. But it was hard to watch. But the point I want to make here is that lady who was about to get stabbed, she was terrified. It's hard to watch. She was fearing for her life, that she was literally going to die. And after she went down, you heard her go off to the side, just shaking, whatever. I got another thing to talk about here. I saw a video that came out a couple of years ago about a person who's on the ground, a black man, I'll say this, and a white cop, I believe. She's tasing him. Her partner is watching the whole thing. He gets up with a knife and through brute force walks over to her, and the officer doesn't shoot him. He stabs the police officer, and only then does the police officer shoot him. This is a couple of years ago. You never see this. You never see this. And the thing, I'll give you the link, Kyra, at the end of this. And I'm like, and she is terrified. It's horrible to watch, but that will never make the headlines. Never make the headlines. To show you that a knife, even with being tased, can still, the guy's still dangerous. He stabbed. He could have killed her. So that's number one. That's number two. And number three, I saw some statistics looking at this up about, I want to see how many bad cops are there in America. So I did a search. I said, how many bad cops are in America? And USA Today, just last year, or actually 2 years ago, did a study, an extensive study, one of the biggest studies done to date on bad bad cops. And would you believe that it's like 99% good cops, and the ones that aren't that are having a problem using excessive force. And so, you can look at that, but it's a small percentage. So like 1 out of 10 were investigated of the whole thing, like 99% are good, upstanding cops, documented, verified, certified. And I'm like, yeah. And so then at the end of that article, they said, well, this doesn't mean that all cops this doesn't mean the cops are really good. It could be. So they try to explain it away, but the data is right there for you to see. And that data that I showed you before with the statistic of millions of people on the street every week, 18 unarmed blacks being killed, which we have more unarmed whites being killed as well. So that doesn't match either. Just no data at all that I can ever see at all that to even come close that there's some sort of conspiracy out to outdo black men, which is what LeBron basically said, that cops are waking up, going out and hunting black men on the street. It's just totally ridiculous and irresponsible. There needs to be action taken from him by the NBA, by somebody to prevent that from happening, because it's only going to cost more lives. We're getting to the summertime now. It's only going to get worse because people get hot, mad, and frustrated. And you know what I'm saying? It's still a powder keg, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I have a good friend of mine who's a police officer, and she's like my biggest inspiration on the face of the planet. So I've talked to her a lot about these issues, and she's just this beautiful, educated, smart police officer. And I'm like, she's incredible. And so I remember talking to her a little bit, and I was like, I always message her every morning. I'm like, hey, I'm praying for you. I hope you get home safely. And I always message her, and I'm like, thank you for everything you do. Like, you're an incredible person. And even like, she will literally tell me, she's like, Kyra, I'm on duty. I will respond later. Got people I have to protect. So a lot of police officers, they do not, like, I am so heartbroken by the amount of police officers right now that are basically retiring after the Chauvin case and after everything that Biden's doing, because at the end of the day, like, these people are there to try and protect and serve people. And I want people to know that, like, they're there to protect you. They're there to serve you. And they do incredible things in people's communities. And there are bad cops out there. And I not good. But I just think it's important to realize that, like, there are incredible police officers that do great things. And it's not fair that they have to go through this much stuff. Like, the left has literally declared a war on police officers, and it's time for people like you and I to stand up against that. And like, so I was asking my friend, and I was like, how can I support you? How can other people support you? A lot of people are scared right now to kind of support you. And she told me, she's like, if you see a police officer out on the street doing something good, record it, post it. So I think a lot of stuff, like, there's a lot of bias about police officers, obviously, but we can really change that by using our phones and recording what they're doing, like the good things that they're doing. So yeah, like, I recently, a really long time ago, we had something explode in my neighborhood. And so my dad and I were actually driving back to my house, and this police officer stops us, and he's like, sir, you have this, sir, I know you have someone in your car, a young lady. I want to make sure you guys get home safely, but can you guys maybe pull off to a parking lot? And I've had situations where I've had campus police at my university help me through really violent situations on my campus. Like, I had a police officer who actually, I was walking by myself one night super late, and he came up to me, and he like rode with me, and he was like, get on my bike, I'll take you back to your dorm. So I got on his bike, and he actually rode me back to my dorm. So there's a lot of police officers that are doing great things. And I think every single time I've talked to a police officer and like thank them for what they do, they almost get teary-eyed. They don't hear that a lot. So if you see a police officer out and about, say thank you. Like, don't distract them from their service, but just say, hey, thank you for everything you're doing. Be respectful about it, because a lot of my police officer friends like have told me I'm low-key terrified when citizens approach me because I feel like they're going to do something to me. So just like go up to them peacefully and say, hey, thank you. I appreciate you. It really goes a long way, and they get super teary-eyed. So yeah, we need to support them more. They deserve our support.
I did that to a Vietnam vet one time, and he started crying right in the middle of the aisle of the grocery store. But I kind of end this discussion. By the way, thank you for saying that, because I'm going to end this segment and this discussion on some high notes. So one case where an officer helped me out, and this may sound trivial, but if you think about this, how you have to be a cop to have to do this, right? And he didn't have to do this. So I'm on vacation, okay? My alarm goes off. I'm in Pango. I'm thousands of miles away. I think I may have been in Arizona. And so I'm freaking out, right? So I called the non-emergency number. I said, hey, my alarm went off, whatever. And then they were like, okay, do you want to send a squad car out there? I said, well, it's just not a big deal. I called them, so obviously I want something to happen. So anyway, long story short, the officer gets there on the scene. He calls me on the phone, says, okay, I'm outside. I'm Officer whatever. Looks okay on the outside. Do I have permission to go in your house? I said, yes. I said, the key is here, whatever. You can get in this way. He goes in, searches the house. And I'm like, dude, it's just, to me, it's just really, what they do is just so underappreciated. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be, from officers themselves, it's going to be stuff like routine stuff. They're doing paperwork, whatever. And very rarely do they get in a situation where they have to go draw the weapon. In fact, most police officers go their entire career never drawing the weapon, to use, on the scene. So all that stuff is like TV stuff, whatever. They even said something stupid today when you texted me earlier. Dan Bongino was saying that at the Columbus police, I guess it was a Columbus police officer, the chief of police was doing a press conference. The media guy said, well, why don't you shoot for the legs, right? And the guy's like, look, we go for the center mass because it's the best place to hit a target to stop the threat. If you go for a leg, whatever, you could miss, whatever. And so we don't want to do that, and it may not stop them. And Dan Bongino was like, yeah, we just shoot for the knife, right? It's like, this isn't Star Wars, this isn't Dirty Harry, this isn't the movie. This is something that's real life. And these cops got to make split-second decisions and deal with the train. And so I just have a lot of appreciation for them. Again, a lot of my friends are police officers. I've gone through some of the training that they go through, not a lot. And I know how it affects their families. And I'll say this, I end my part of this on this, is that hearing from a police officer himself, he told me, look, we're having a hard time keeping good cops. It's almost like it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, okay? All cops aren't great, of course. No one, we're talking about 99% are good, right? So the 1% is bad, right? Or has a problem, should be gone. So based on a false narrative, it's 1%, but you're saying it's 50%, all right? So now we're attacking the police officer, and guess what? 50% leave, right? So guess what happens now? Only the ones who will be cops now in this environment are people that probably shouldn't be cops to begin with. So now you have really bad cops doing really bad things because we've created a situation where literally life imitated art. And so that's the problem they're having. They can't get the good cops because the good cops are the smart ones, and they're leaving or they're going to something else. So that to me is what the big issue is. And I don't know if this whole thing about trying to create a military state is true, or that's just something that's just a side effect, or is there really some sort of bigger power saying we want a military presence? Because even BLM's now saying, look, you're putting more armed forces on the street now. We don't want that. And so I don't know what the BLM wants. Do you want cops on the street or do you not want cops on the street? I don't understand. To me, it's really confusing. And I think the best way, like you said, is to uplift our police officers, and number two, to tell the truth about what's going on with if a cat is put out of a tree by a cop, or crime statistic data that's actually true, not this false narrative that's gets spewed out every single time we hear a reporter on mainstream media.
Yeah, and police officers, they actually they do a lot of work rescuing people from human trafficking. They do a lot of work. They rescue people from suicide who are about to commit suicide. And it's just like my good friend from another state, her mother is a police officer. And so she actually, since the riots, I don't want to cry on this live stream, sorry. But since the riots, like I mentioned it before, but she's genuinely so afraid for her mom. And her mom's this great police officer. Her mom's this like incredible young woman. And she's just, amazing. And because of Black Lives Matter and because of all the protests and all the riots, they're not protests, they're riots, sorry. She actually stays up till 3 a.m. every night, making sure that her mom comes home safely. And that's just, if you think about that, that is so heartbreaking. And it's just, so yeah, if you have a friend that's a police officer, if you know anyone in your area that's a police officer, like, please, like, before her shifts sometimes, I genuinely just like sit in my room and I pray for her. And I just think it's really important that we show them that we appreciate them. And her house actually started getting death threats from Black Lives Matter rioters a few days ago. And her mom actually was about to quit the force because she was just like, I'm putting my family in danger. I'm just trying to help citizens. That's all she's trying to do. She's not a bad cop at all. She's this incredible young woman who just has this, who really honestly felt like she had this purpose by God. Like, she had this conversation with God when she was in middle school, and God told her that her purpose in life was to be a police officer.
Wow.
And it just breaks your heart. And so she said, all I'm trying to do, like, I'm just here to help people. I'm here to help citizens. And I don't appreciate the amount of hate I'm getting. So the love you send to someone who's a police officer, like, if you know someone that's a police officer, like, text them and say, hey, thank you for what you're doing. I hope you get home safely. That really means a lot to them. And I just think it's important to share their stories because there are some pretty incredible people out there on the force that are doing great things.
Remember that my friend told you about, I won't name him here, but I'll say about Tommy Laren. He was speaking at a conference. So he's actually going to meet her. So it's a police conference. So one of my good friends, another good friend of mine here in my local town, we were talking just this past week about this whole stuff. And he's just, and let me bring this up. Let me bring this up because he mentioned this to me, that there's a policy coming up now. I'm not sure if it's just local here where I live or across the country, where in the way I think of it is as a Good Samaritan law. So if I'm on the street and I see someone passed out, if I give them CPR and they don't make it, I can't be held liable because I tried to help them as best I could. It's the same kind of thing with police officers. What I'm hearing is there's a legislation that they're trying to pass which says that they can be personally held liable if they don't, even in good faith, do something and something happens. And they have to get their own attorneys and get their own lawyers, their own insurance. And he says if that happens, he said he knows for a fact that day one half can be gone. And so it's that kind of, and like you said, you mentioned something really fast in your statement when you talk about LeBron James that a lot of people don't consider. These officers don't make a lot of money. For what they do, they should be paid six figures, bare minimum. Bare minimum. So, and some are, I guess, but I'm talking about the beat cop. I'm talking about the ones that are on the street. They need to get six figures, man. Because that to me, you put your life on the line. And if not that, then they need to have assurances when they're done. If they have a good career or whatever, they should be taken care of the rest of their life and their kids. I'm serious. Because as much waste as there is in this country, there's plenty of money for people in military and law enforcement. They keep us safe. So that's just where I stand on that.
Yep, same. They should be paid way more money. I could go on and on how much I love our law enforcement. I love our 99% of police officers that are doing great things. The 1%, no. The bad cops, no. The good cops, God bless them. They're incredible people, and they will always be a part of my prayers, because as a devout Christian, I pray for a lot of things, and law enforcement officers are definitely the first people I pray for every night and every morning. So yeah, we just need to show that we appreciate them. So
totally agree. My son loves cops and he loves police officers, so we teach him to respect them as much as he can. So it's funny because I'll leave it at this. Chase on Paw Patrol, they were actually trying to cancel Chase, a fictionalized German Shepherd police dog who's a racist because he's leading the pack and he's a German Shepherd. So of course he's got to be a racist because German Shepherds were the ones that were used in the Civil Rights Movement, which I will admit or have to say was Bull Connor and Wallace and all those Democrats from the South. They won't mention that. So I'll leave it at that. So Kyra, thank you for this discussion. Did you have anything else, any topic that we missed? Did you want to kind of talk about, or before we go?
Nope, I think that's it.
Okay, cool. You want to tell everybody where they can reach you, where they can find you, and how they can support you?
Yeah, so I don't actually use Instagram that much anymore, but I have 2 accounts on Instagram. You can follow me at Real Kyra Bowlby. You can follow me at The Kyra Bowlby on Facebook. You can follow my page, and you can go like my public Facebook page. My Facebook page is Kyra Marion Carol Bowlby. Then my other Facebook is Kyra Bowlby. That's more of the one for my friends. So if you're on that Facebook, you're special. And my Parler is at Kyra Bowlby, and my YouTube channel is at Kyra Bowlby, and a new video about voter ID laws will be coming soon.
Yeah, I think my account got blocked. No, I'm still up. Okay, I'm gonna invite your dad. I'm gonna invite your dad at some point. So
yeah, when Facebook jail, do it.
It's funny. I'll get on a tangent here a little bit, but it's funny when you get in the Facebook jail. There's kind of like a bond there, you know. So it's like, so I already love you. I mean, I love your dad anyway. I never met him, but I mean, he's your dad. He's got to be a great person because you're a great person. But now you love him, right? Like, dude, man, come on, we gotta hang out, man. Hurry up, get out of jail.
Yes.
Yes.
So many people love my dad, man. I post about him on my Snapchat all the time. He's so funny. I love my dad. He's the best. I post about him a lot. He's great. He's blunt. He's confident. If I could be anyone in the world, my biggest inspirations in my life are my mom and dad because they're my biggest supporters and I love them so much and I want to be just like them. So when my dad gets out of Facebook jail, I promise you he will accept your friend request on Facebook.
Excellent. I haven't done this, but this is a t-shirt that we have on our store. If you go to the store, the website, it's basically, I thought this was funny. Let me get rid of this brand here. Give this banner. It's been going the entire time. I should have got rid of it. I didn't want to have the whole time. Kind of annoying. Anyway, it says, so basically it's like ALM's at the top, which is A. Oh, that's racist. But then you have B and C and all the way down to Z, right? So I think we have everybody covered and all lives matter. So I think it's a cool design because, you know, no one's left out, right? And I just think, you know, I think we're in this together. And if I can figure out how to get rid of this, we can talk to you again. It's just a cool design. I think that's where we should be. We're a melting pot. We're one country. This country is not inherently racist. The 1619 Project is total bogus, revisionist history, simply because they don't have accountability for their own crap that they did. Just admit to the fact that the Democrat Party is the racist party. They did this whole poll taxes, the segregation, the lynchings, Ku Klux Klan, the whole nine. Own up to it, you know, the war on poverty, all that stuff, and then just let's go forward. If you don't pay reparations, how about you just shut down the DNC? Okay, then we can have real unity in this country. But this country wasn't the reason for that. It's the bad people that started this country. I mean, it's that started those things in this country that did that. So that's number one. And number two, we're all in this together. We all bleed the same color. And so that's it. So that's all I had for the show.
Yeah. I did. Yeah. I did a bunch of mic drops for you because I agree with you. Yeah.
Cool. I get my little rants too, but I try to be careful because on live stream you can say the wrong.
Guys, that's what this means. I was doing mic drops. I wasn't doing anything like bad. Just
I was looking at you.
Yes.
Yeah. I was making sure I was trying to focus on my words properly, so I didn't want to make sure that's anything that I want to be ashamed of. So. Anyway. All right, cool. I got some comments here. Let me see if I can get these real quick, and then we can get off here. Okay. Hey, Mark. How you doing, buddy? Yeah. So he basically, Mark's a regular. Love that dog, man. Is that your dog, Mark? It's cool. Is that a pug? Looks like it. And 69. I love dogs, man. I gotta get a dog. Oh, I gotta tell a story. I'll say it now. I don't think you know this. You saw it on Instagram. I had a raccoon for a couple of days.
Yes. I think you posted about that. What happened?
Okay, so this is actually a cool story. I ended here, and I'll give a plug out to this guy too on a YouTube channel. So basically, there's a noise in our chimney, whatever. We're like, what the heck's going on? And I don't want to get graphic, but excrement was coming down the chimney. You could smell it. Okay, so we knew something was up there, and so we basically opened the vent, and then like 2 hours later, and I tell you, Kyra, I literally almost burst into tears. I'm not ashamed of being. I'm a man, guy, but was really emotional. I saw a little baby raccoon squimpering, with his eyes closed, whining, crying. It's the most horrifying, endearing kind of thing I ever see in my life, right? And he was just trying his best to, move. He couldn't move. His mother was nowhere to be found. I said, okay, here we go. So I go downstairs. I get me a cooler. My kid and I put some grass in there, put them in there, and then I get on the internet, typing up whatever. I become an expert in raccoons for the next 48 hours. So long story short, I had to feed them every 2 hours, keep hot water bottles because the temperature only needs to be 101, 102 degrees. So mom wasn't coming back. I called all kind of stuff, put something on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, pictures, whatever. So finally, mom didn't come back. And so finally, I had him outside. It was a warm day. He was in the cooler, chilling. We had some workers coming over to do some excavation in our yards. And so I was telling him, like, yeah, I got a raccoon here. And dude was like, what, really? My wife is a veterinarian. We went to North Carolina A&T, animal science program, whatever. I like whatever. Can I said, you can have him. He said, yeah. I said, cool. So it's got a YouTube channel. So I'm gonna plug a YouTube channel. Its channel is called The Bow Channel. The Bow Show, the BOSHOW. Go check him out. He basically does all kind of outdoor stuff, fishing, whatever. Really cool dude. And so anyway, thank you for taking. We call him Little Ray Ray, the raccoon's name. But he was a lot of fun for a while, but it got to be really challenging because he had to be fed every 2 hours. And to find out what he could eat, it was like complicated. You gotta get sterilized water and like a puppy mix, which is not dairy, and you mix it 3 parts in with like goat's milk, and that kind of will be good enough for him. It was stressful for a while.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your story. I was going to message you on Facebook and be like, what's up with that? But yeah, you're a good person. So thank you for taking care of that. That was so nice of you. Wow.
I just couldn't. I just wanted him to be, because what I'm saying, it's a raccoon. I get that, but I didn't want him to die on my watch, right? I wanted him to take care of because his mom was gone. I'm adopted, so I kind of have some kind of thing there. So. Anyway, so yeah. So anyway, let me do one more thing here, and we'll get out of here. And thank you, Bo, for doing that for us. By the way, I put those links to the Instagram in the chat there. If you want to see those 2 stories where the cop was trying to get away from the guy with the knife, and the guy was killed because he was trying to stab his partner. That's out there, but just so you can see it. So that stuff never gets on the internet. So. All right, cool. So with that, everyone, thank you so much for coming out here. We've been going for about an hour and a half. Thanks for the comments and everyone else, and thank you for coming on, Miss Kyra's dad. It's Brian. Is that his name? That his name, Brian. Okay, cool. And so,
yeah.
so with that, so we're gonna check out Kyra, support her channel, check out the Bo Show as well, and we will check you guys out next time.